Yo, what's good, guys? And today we got a special episode. You see me in my B-boy stance, because today we gonna be talking about why we love hip-hop, right? With my boy, Rahim. Yo, we gotta give him a hip-hop name. Yo, Rahim.
Peace.
On the ones and twos, you know what I'm saying? So, yo, let's start off why we love hip-hop. I'm gonna start off and say that I love the four elements of hip-hop. I love graffiti, I love breakdancing, I love DJs, and yo, I love the MCs, you know what I'm saying, the rappers. And these are things that I think are missing today. We need more graffiti, we need more DJs, yo, we need more breakdancers, right? But yo, that's what I love about hip-hop. I love the whole culture of hip-hop. I love the sampling. Like, I really love the sampling of like Knife Wonder and Pete Rock and back in the day, Black Milk, you know, No ID. Like, these are some of my favorite producers. Kanye, you know, back in the day, Kanye. Like, I love, these are some of my favorite producers. High Tech from Cincinnati, you know, we Ohio people, so yo, shout out to High Tech, was really good.
Reflection Eternal, Talib.
Yeah, Reflection Eternal with Talib. Yo, my favorite, who's your favorite hip-hop artist that I'm playing? Yo, that's a question that you can never answer. That's a question that you can never answer.
How much time we got?
Word. That's another question you can never answer.
But let me say why I love hip-hop, because I mean, hip-hop to me is the essence, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the music, the samples, like you said, just the creativity of it. You know, when hip-hop came out, like, literally people created something from nothing.
Word.
You know, I know KRS used to talk about for those that don't know, KRS-One, pioneer in hip-hop, you know what I'm saying? He used to talk about just like people having nothing. So, you know, you have a bandana where someone, you know, would use that as a rag, but no, that's like a fashion choice now. You know what I'm saying? Where people had all these expensive instruments, now all you have is, you know what I'm saying, just like a bucket and something to hit on, and from there came all
like pan drum, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. From there came the elements of hip hop, right? So rapping,
exactly,
graffiti, breakdancing, and DJing. You know, so you have the four elements of hip hop, but hip hop is a worldwide phenomenon.
It is, and I really need to make this point to people, because, like, you know, I always be saying it straight out. Like, I'm African American. Like, this is my culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I tell people all the time, like, look, like, hip hop is, if it wasn't for soul, if it wasn't for funk, you know, all these musics black people created, if it wasn't for jazz, if it wasn't for you know, rock and roll influences and all that kind of stuff, like all the stuff that African Americans created, there would be no hip hop. So I be telling everybody, like, I be telling him, not that he's a bad person, but I be telling everybody, I'm like, yo, I guess it's possible you can like hip hop and not like those other musics, but for me, especially being African American, like, yo, this is my history. This is I grew up in a house listening to Al Green. I grew up in a word. Like, it's hip hop. When I hear hip hop, I hear more than just new African American or black music. I hear soul. I hear funk in there. You know, I hear jazz. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially the sampling. Like, I love sampling. You know, mainstream radio sampling is dying. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many people that sample anymore. But yo, I miss the era of every producer, or a lot of producers, sample. There's nothing wrong with original beats. You know, like making original beats out of like computer instruments or real instruments. Right. But sampling is the best, because that, to me, I get 2 songs in one song, or I get 3 songs in one song, or different kind of genres. Like, when you sample, I'm still singing that old LTD or Temptation sample or Prince sample or
it takes you back.
Barry White sample,
it takes you back.
And I'm spitting hip hop, and I'm listening to hip hop. It's basically like I'm in the 70s and the 90s and the 2000s all at the same time, or I'm in the 60s and 2016 at the same time. Like, I sing R&B on the sample, but then somebody comes and spit. Like, that's why I love hip hop, because hip hop embodies all of African American culture from the beginning of us making music in America, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I think you make a good point, because people, when I tell people I love hip hop music, the first thing that comes to their minds is what they see on radio, what they hear on radio, what they see on TV. And hip hop as a culture is much deeper than that.
Exactly.
So when you talk about sampling, like, you have all these great producers that sample, like DJ Premier and Pete Rock, and you have you know, Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, and you have Questlove from The Roots, and you have all these amazing Kanye West. You know, you have all these great producers that take these great mixtures of sounds, like you said, from jazz and funk and soul, and they create something that's new, but it's familiar.
Exactly, it's new and familiar.
It's new,
that's what I'm saying.
But familiar. And I think that's the beautiful thing about hip hop, because it reinvents something that I would never have listened to. I listen to and I love it, and I'll, you know, find out from you or from someone and be like, you know what, that came from a 70s record.
Right, exactly. You know? And that's why it's funny to me, because I always wonder, like me knowing this music, or like, for instance, like, I'm not gonna front, there are some African Americans that love hip hop that they especially a lot of women, not hating on our women, but because there's some you guys out here that are like hip hop heads, but a lot of women I feel like are more for dancing and not really like wanting to know where things are from. Like I could let my sister hear, a hip hop song and she probably won't even know what the sample is from back in the day, but she might say, this sounds so familiar. Like this sounds so familiar. I know this from somewhere, right? So for instance, when I hear a hip hop song being sampled, right? And I hear the sample, I'm like, yo, this is totally familiar to me. It's two things in one for me, but I always wonder, how does somebody else feel about that when they just hear hip hop but they don't know where the sample's from? Like, how do you feel about that?
It sounds like something brand new, right? And there's a beauty in hip hop, because for someone like me, it does sound like it's brand new, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But hip hop, like a lot of other things, are built from a foundation of other things. Like it didn't just spring into existence.
Because I always wonder that, like how, like when somebody, like when I know the sample of, like, let's say I know the sample of like a Knife Wonder beat or like a Just Blaze or Pete Rock or whoever it might be, right? When I know this beat, or when I know the sample that it's sampled from, and I'm like, yo, this is from the 70s, Earth, Wind, and Fire joint, or this is from Aretha Franklin. They sampled Aretha Franklin, and then my mom here. And my mom be like, yo, that's Aretha Franklin.
Right.
But then she hear hip hop.
Right.
And then she's doing it the reverse way, to where it's like she's from that era. And then she hears hip hop and she's like, oh, so who's this? It's just, to me, it's like, I always wondered, does anybody else care? Like anybody that's not like African American or is like really into hip hop, I always wonder, like, when you hear that sample of Barry White in the background of your favorite hip hop song, do you care about who that is? Or like, do you know who that is? Like, I always just wondered as an African American, because for me, I know who it is. And even when I don't know who it is, I'm like, oh, that sounds like it's from the 60s. Or that sounds like it's from the 50s. And eventually I'll find out, or whatever it might be. So, I just really love hip hop. Hip hop is my culture. And like, I hate when people say, like, everybody obviously can like do hip hop. We share hip hop. But I don't like it, because I feel like sometimes people try to take like our culture away from us and be like, everybody can do it. It's for everybody. It is for everybody. But don't try to act like it wasn't ours. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Same with rock and roll, same with jazz.
Right.
Yo, don't come in and take our culture and just be like, yo, we do it now and that's who we are.
Right.
Like, no, this is me. You know what I'm saying? This means a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is who we are. You know?
Another good example, what you're talking about, where you have someone like Eminem, people may say, well, and they've only heard Eminem in their life, right? And they may say, oh, Eminem is the greatest rapper.
Right.
And I could tell you, 10 MCs right off the top of my head that I think, in my opinion, are much more skilled and much more hip hop than Eminem is. Not to take anything away from Eminem, but
because Eminem's dope.
Yeah, Eminem's dope. But when you talk about Nas, you talk about Jay-Z, you talk about Big L, right? You talk about Big Pun, you talk about Pharoah Monch, you talk about Black Thought, and the list goes on and on and on. Rakim, Cool G Rap. Yeah, and all these amazing rappers who may have influenced. One of Eminem's biggest influences was Master Ace from the Juice Crew.
Of course,
and there's another whole story we could talk about, which is the Juice Crew, you know what I'm saying, where you had a crew of rappers that came together. Another thing I love about hip hop, where you have posse tracks, where you have like 6 rappers on the track and they're all trying to out lyric each other and out spit each other, you know what I'm saying? So
and that's why I love it, because like you said, like, I've heard some people say like, who's their best MC, and like, I feel like it's hard to say who's the best. You know what I'm saying? Even though I think personally, because like some people, they what's the word I'm looking for? They basically have something in common with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like somebody could like Jin because they're Asian and Jin's Asian. Right. And his style is obviously a hip hop, like person of African descent style, but he throws in the Asian element of it, you know what I'm saying? Because you're doing hip hop at the end of the day. Right. But he's throwing the Asian element, and like Asian people are like, yo, Jin's the best because I'm Asian, and he says Asian things that relate to me, and he says things in, Asian languages, different Asian languages, or talk about different Asian ethnicities. So therefore, I like him the best. Just like some people of European descent, white people in America, they're like, I love Eminem because he gravitates to that's something like similar, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. So I'm not even mad about that. Like what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but like me, myself, personally, I don't think that M is the best rapper of all times. I think he's definitely up there, you know what I'm saying? But
who are your favorite rappers and groups? And I mean, I know.
Yo, for me, it's like, but for me, like, see, my style of hip hop, like a lot of people, some people like the West Coast. That's the next thing I want to go into. West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, and South.
So before we get into that, who are your favorite rappers and groups in hip hop? Who are your favorite hip hop artists?
Okay, for me, my style of hip hop that I love the most is jazzy hip hop. So I like a person that has a laid back style. So I love like I love Nas. I love Big L. Like, I love the guys that are laid back.
Slum Village,
but mad intelligent. Yo, they can get with you if you think that they some punks or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's the type of person that I am. So, like, street poets. You know what I'm saying? Like street poets. You know. So I like, like I said, Slum Village. I love Twista. I love old Kanye. You know what I'm saying? I love, who else do I love? I loved, who am I thinking of? Elzai. I love Elzai. Yo, who else do I love? I'm gonna keep going down.
Tribe Called Quest. De La Common.
Exactly. Oh, Common. Yeah. Oh my God, Common.
Common, definitely. Man,
you put me on the spot. There's just so many. Like there's 1,000 running on my head. Old school Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying?
You mentioned most of my favorites too.
Lupe Fiasco. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like I'm such a Midwest person.
Sign.
Sign. I love Sign. I'm such a Midwest person and an East Coast person to where it's like I love Northern hip hop the most. Like that will never change.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I love the Northern. I love Northern hip hop. I mean, I love Southern hip hop too. Like back in the day, I loved MJG, 8 Ball. I loved Scarface. I loved all the cats from Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that I love the most are of course Outkast, Ludacris back in the day. Like yo, the things that I love the most about the South, like Southern hip hop, the two places I love the most that I think is always straight spitters, Louisiana and Texas. Yo, I give them so much credit. Louisiana, Texas. I know for the most part, when I hear people coming from there, yo, it's gonna be real MCs, like real Southern hip hop. You know what I'm
saying? I would add Black Moon.
Black Moon. I love Black Moon.
Clip, Sean Price.
I love Sean Price.
Yeah, from the East Coast. I mean, there's so much hip hop on the West Coast. Like you have Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, I love Hieroglyphics.
Far Side. Yeah, exactly. Brass Cast and Exhibit. See, hip hop is such a culture, you know.
It's a culture, which leads next to the codes, right? Because like codes are a big thing in hip hop culture. Obviously, like in the '90s, like it's so funny that we didn't really have any brands, you know, like African descent brands in America. So it's like, yo, we're gonna take Tommy Hilfiger, we're gonna take these European American brands, and we're gonna be like, yo, we're gonna make these funky
Timberland
and dope.
Yep.
And we did it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Carhartt jackets.
Yo, we made Tommy Hilfiger dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
right.
I'm not saying that's a good thing or bad thing, but at the time, that's all we had. So it was like, yo, we took this and made this dope.
Yeah. Look at all the cool trends. You know, like for example, when Crisscross came out.
Oh yeah.
Remember
the
they had
backward T-shirt.
The backward shirts and the right. The Timbs, wearing the Timbs in the mid '90s. You know, like wearing bigger clothing.
Exactly.
You know,
And that lets you also know in hip hop like how times have changed, because it's cool to be Southern now. It's cool to like. To sound like you're Southern or sound like, you know what I'm saying, people can barely understand you or whatever. But you gotta remember, if you really know hip hop, at one point everybody was trying to be like the North, especially the East Coast in New York.
Exactly.
Crisscross and all them, they had Timbs on. Yo, all of Atlanta was trying to be New York.
Hats.
Yo, exactly, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was funny because, you know, it was just it's such a major shift, you know what I'm saying? It's just such a major shift to where now everybody's trying to act like they're from the South.
Right.
Or at least that's the way I feel.
Slim pants, like the skinny jeans.
Word, you know what I'm saying? And
I remember in the 2000s, you remember where they had like headbands and the wristbands,
And it's funny because I remember
do-rags,
Word, I remember it's funny because like I remember I was at high school, when I was in high school, and like the first person, this was at the time, like they said the last hip hop song on the radio was Fabulous Breed. Like a lot of people were saying that, like, yo, that was the last hip hop song. And then you could sort of tell the transition to like this, what I like to call tink tink bro music or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like they have other words for it, but I don't want to say that word, you know what I'm saying? But that music, like I remember Fabulous was like one of the last, I'm like, yo, Breathe came out, I'm like, yo, this is refreshing because like hip hop is dying on the radio, you know what I'm saying? And then I remember that same day, like right before I heard Fabulous, I heard the first person that pulled up playing Mike Jones. Mike Jones. Like, remember Mike Jones was like a big deal. Like, he was from Texas, and I used to hate Mike Jones when he first came out. And then a couple years later, I was like, you know what? I actually like Mike Jones, because music has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Now I look at Mike Jones like, yo, can I have you back, Mike Jones?
When are you coming back, Mike?
Yo, Mike Jones, you coming back, yo? Because this stuff is horrible on the radio, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, and I'm not even saying that he's my favorite MC, I'm just saying that that's how crazy it was. Like, even in the early 2000s, like, I used to look at things like Yin Yang Twins, right? And I like some of their stuff, but Yin Yang Twins, but the thing about it was that I knew that it wasn't as good as like Nas or as Common or Big L or whatever, right? But at least they weren't over here trying to say like, yo, I'm better than Nas, I'm better than Jay. Like they have no respect. Like, here's my thing.
They stayed in their lane.
They
did hip hop that appealed to a certain demographic.
Here's my thing. Like, if you're gonna say you're hip hop, I don't care what nobody say. If you're gonna say you hip hop, yo, you gotta study. You don't do anything in this life without studying things that has happened prior, before, 100 years ago, 200 years. You don't go to school, college, and they be like, hey, here's a test. No, they teach you the material, things that happened in the past, the people that went through trials and tribulations. You learn it, and then you take that test. So for anybody that wants to do hip hop, any younger people or whatever, I'm not old, but I'm saying even younger than me in their teens, yo, you have to learn about hip hop. I'm not saying you have to learn about hip hop to do hip hop, right, but you need to learn about hip hop. Because when you start saying things that disrespectful for people that came before you, that really was out here doing it for the love of it, in the trenches, that is like a billion times better than you.
Pave the way for you.
Pave the way for you.
Do what you can do.
Exactly. Yeah. Pave the way for you to do what you can do, and you just disrespect them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because people don't do that for any other genre except hip hop.
Except hip hop.
Rock and roll. People be like, oh, we can't talk about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, but how many people know about EPMD? Exactly. How many people know about LL Cool J? You know,
which almost kind of
Eric B and Rakim.
Exactly.
You know, how many people know about Grandmaster Flash?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. I'm glad you brought up rock and roll, because I know it's a hip hop joint, but rock and roll is part of it. Yo, you got same thing for rock and roll. They don't talk bad, but you guys need to know these African American artists back in the day that was doing rock and roll, that was doing country, like, just different artists like Muddy Waters, and like, you need to know these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I know when I meet a real musician or somebody that's really into hip hop or jazz, whatever, because obviously I'm not a musician, but I can talk music history. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So much music, I don't think you can know everything about every genre.
The predecessors.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yo, hip hop is about respect. I guess that's the moral story that we're getting to at this point. Hip hop is about respect, and hip hop is about truly finding your raw essence and not trying to be like everybody else.
Right.
Because hip hop has changed, or what they call hip hop now. I don't call it hip hop. What's on the radio, that's not hip hop to me. That's rap. Rap is obviously an action of hip hop.
It's an element of hip hop.
It's an element of hip hop. But if you know hip hop, like, it'd be funny when I ask people like, yo, is there hip hop playing? They're like, yeah, hip hop. I'm like, nah. Is there hip hop playing? You know what I'm saying? Real hip hop. What I feel like is real hip hop. Because the reason I say what real hip hop is because, yo, when I go to hip hop places, I see break dancers. Yo, that's part of hip hop. I used to see people graffiti. Yo, that's part of hip hop. I see a real DJ up there is turning. That's real hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Even if he has digitally, who cares? It's still a real DJ up there doing something. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop is more than just, oh, it's on the radio, it's black people, they're rapping or whoever. That's hip hop. No. Look up what hip hop is. Hip hop is a culture, it's a movement. You know what I'm saying? At one point, hip hop was done out of fun and necessity and just creativity, like every black music. And now it's a business. Somebody else came and took our stuff, and some of our people even looked at it as a business. And now we don't even run the business. It's like the NBA. We don't even run it. Yeah, we don't even run it. Yeah, you see all the players and all this, but there's not that many people of African descent that actually own the teams.
It started off as, something organic in the parks.
And now it's business.
And now it's business, yeah. I mean, I remember like hearing KRS-One talk about it, and he used to say, like, back during those times, he would say that hip hop was peace, love, unity, and having fun.
Word.
And unfortunately, that it's not really like that anymore.
Word. And I guess everything at some point has to go to business, but who's running these businesses? That's what I'm trying to say. Who's running these businesses? Because it ain't us. There's maybe one or two of us running around here, but it's not us. You know what I'm saying? So since it's not us, music of today on the radio, they're looking at you like a moneymaker. They're looking at you like, basically like, yo, we're gonna look at this inner city African American kid or a person of African descent or whatever, whoever it might be, even if you're not of African descent, but mostly for us, because we're talking about our people, our culture that we created, and they're looking at dollar signs. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at dollar signs. They're not necessarily looking at you. So hip hop is about being original and being yourself, not trying to copy everybody else. That's another thing. Yo, don't be just trying to copy everybody else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
biting was a big deal.
Biting was a big deal back in the day.
You don't bite someone's style.
And that's how I still feel. Because I'm an individual, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm not that old, but I did grow up in both eras. I'm still young now. I'm growing up this era. But if you know the core essence of something, like, it can definitely change. But being an individual in any art, whether it's hip hop, whether it's art, whether it's cars, whether it's whatever art form, yo, being yourself is the most important. Not jocking nobody. Because everybody got their own style, and people want to hear your region. They want to hear where you're from. You know what I'm saying? Like, hip hop was about, yo, I'm from the West Coast. I sound like I'm from the West Coast. Why should you? I'm not saying there's some people I'm not saying that there's other people that didn't do other sounds. Like, there were people from the West Coast, they usually did West Coast sounds. Every once in a while, yo, I'm sounding a little Southern on this song, or because I'm on a Southern person song, I'm on a Midwest person song, so I'm sound. But here's the thing, yo, you will get more clout from being from where you are from your region. That's why I love hip hop, because when you're from your region, it tells a story of where you come from. When I hear somebody from the West Coast, they sound different from somebody from the East Coast. When I hear somebody from the Midwest and the North, they sound different from somebody from Louisiana. That tells me their story. That's what hip hop's about. It's telling your local story, your regional story. Yo, we spit like this because, yo, it's 20 below out here right now. We got big jackets on, we got big Timbs on because, yo, it's cold and we outside spitting. That's what hip hop is. You know what I'm saying? Uniqueness, originality. You know what I'm saying? Being true to who you are. That's what hip hop is.
Right.
You know, the culture and style, and just really embodying the whole African American culture as, yo, we never have anything, at least recently in this country, and then now we turn nothing into something. That's what hip hop is. Just like that's what jazz is. Just like that's what soul is. Just like that's what funk is.
Yep.
So, yo, guys, here we were talking about hip hop today. I hope you guys liked it. This was a little conversation of why we love hip hop. And yo, until next time, yo, Rahizi on ones and twos. Yo, you know me. I'm out. Peace. One love.
Peace.
What's up?
Hey.
Shalom.
What up?
Hi.
African.